Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about the operations side of things and how agents can be helpful there. And when we talk about operations, we're talking not just about level 1.5 support, but we're also talking about the NOC, the SOC, how people work with the alerts that are coming or the tickets that are coming at them, and using agents to actually streamline that process and be really helpful in terms of managing the work. So let's get started. And today we're just going to go into the level 1.5 support. Now, level 1 support is handled nicely by the ServiceNows of the world. But once you get into level 1.5, there's a lot of swivel chair action going on. There's a lot of people touching a lot of different systems, looking at a lot of different types of data to try to get to the root of the problem. So we've worked with a large retailer to actually build this level 1.5 that enables them to do a lot more with higher quality with the same number of people. So let's dive in. The first thing that you'll see here is the ability for us to actually ingest information that's dispersed across multiple systems. So it could be in your operational alert system, it could be in Jira, in your documentation and Confluence, or it could be in your application performance monitoring or in your infrastructure alerting. So what these folks had a challenge with was that the data was all over the place and it came in multiple formats, and they didn't really have the budget to do a massive data project just for ops. And what we found is that the AI agents are actually able to do a lot in this space in terms of looking at the data, rationalizing it, and bringing it together into what we're calling the operations hub, but it's the context lakehouse that we've seen in the other videos, but specific to operations in this case. So the first thing we'll do is we'll actually go in here and we'll pull in all the data that we see in these variety of different source systems. And it takes a little bit of time for the system to ingest all of that data, and this will be ongoing over time. So it'll go through, ingest all of the data from the Jira, from the ticketing system, from your knowledge base and other documentation, and it gets that operations hub much, much smarter. And so you'll see it processing this and starting to understand what's going on across the board in all of your systems. And then ultimately what we want to do is we want to deal with level 1.5 tickets, level 1.5 incidents that are coming in, and we want to be able to manage and address those. But then there's also all kinds of other use cases that you can imagine. So your monitoring now all of a sudden becomes much more sophisticated, and you can use agents to do a lot of the monitoring and make deterministic or non-deterministic decisions based on how comfortable you feel with the agent. So we'll see here that it's actually gone through, ingested all of this data, and now we can go look at what's going on in the next stage, which is around resolving the alerts. So then we move on to the resolution step. And here, all of you will recognize this. We've got hundreds of alerts that all of our folks are dealing with on a regular basis, whether it be in the SOC and the NOC, or in this case, level 1.5 alerts. And we've got all kinds of different severities. We've got low severity, high severity, critical, all different levels of alerts that have come in. And so our job as the attendant to this dashboard is to actually go through every single one of these. Got a database connection timeout. Okay, let's see what information we have. And we get the alert details from the alerting system. But what the AI's also managed to do is it's managed to pull in information around what that alert might mean from both the knowledge base as well as the ticketing system, as well as the service management system. And so it's created a nice holistic picture of what that alert potentially means for our organization and has some hints on how to resolve it. Now, instead of the human going through and working each of these alerts, 15, 20 minutes, an hour in some cases, depending on all the different systems that they have to access, what we do is we actually let the AI start doing the work. And what would have taken 15, 20 minutes to do, you'll see that in some cases, we're actually able to clear these alerts. And we start processing these down from 103 alerts that we started with, And we start going, AI is actually clearing many of them. And some of them are false positives, some of them are easy alerts, and AI is able to go through and do those. And it's saving all the difficult ones for the human to come in. Now, everything that we do here always has human in the loop. So even the ones that AI clears that don't require human attention to clear, you will still have a human going through that process. But let's go into one of the ones that needs attention while this thing runs. We'll look at the payment gateway is unreachable. That's probably a big business impact here. And we've got different types of incidents, so it's got a categorization here. And then what we have here is a list of things that when we ran the runbook, it was clear that required human intervention. And so we've got issues around immediate SLA risk, we've got business impact, we've got technical resolution, and we've got documentation and follow-up. So there are 4 categories in the runbook that we have to still bring a human in to do the work. And now you'll see here in the runbook, step by step, what the work was that the AI actually did. So identify and capture the issue, done. The next step, it needs business impact validation. But other than that, it went through all the different steps, gathered all the information for the human to actually make that last call. Number 3, it was able to clear perfectly. Number 4, again, we have some custom configs, it looks like, in here, and that's causing some issues. So we're not able to go auto resolve that. And then there are a few others where we've got maybe conflicting root cause analyses that the AI came up with, or it made some attempts at resolution, but wasn't able to do so because of, in this case, routing rules. And then, of course, after it does the resolution attempt, it's going to monitor and validate that the resolution actually worked. And so it still needs manual intervention there because it wasn't able to resolve. And so then you've got the whole sequence of the runbook executed with work teed up for the human to do. We've done 50% of the work on this ticket now. And so now we move on and let the human resolve that. Now we can also look at others that the AI actually was able to resolve. So we'll go look at the ones that the AI cleared, and we'll look at, any of these. Let's pick a critical one here. Primary load balancer failed. So here we've got a system config and environment issue, critical severity. Again, we've got all the artifacts gathered, but the thing you'll see here is that the AI actually was able to go through and resolve all of the issues according to the runbook. So step by step, it went through, captured the issue, it looked at the data, did the correlations, found the root cause, validated the root cause, it automated the system recovery, and you'll see exactly the work that it actually did. And then it was able to go in and update the knowledge base. And then it was able to go through and monitor and verify that the changes actually were successful. And then it was able to clear the alert. So now what I have here is a full summary ready for human review. The human will go through and review it. And now I can generate a root cause analysis, boom, and that goes off into the database. Or I can actually go through and accept this and say, yep, this is indeed what happened. And when I do that, it will update the context lake with all of this post-processing analysis. So once I accept that, and I can go in and look for that one again. Let me find one that I accepted. And I can also then generate the root cause analysis for that one. And it stores it in the database. So now we've got a whole range of items where we started out with 103. We're able to clear 84 with the AI, and then you want a human to go through and review those. And then there are 18 of those 103 that still require attention. And so we've been able to cut probably not 80% of the work, but we're able to cut a good 30 to 40% of the work that goes on in this L15 desk. Let's now take a little bit of a deep dive into the AI-assisted resolution of something that the AI wasn't able to resolve by itself, but a human-AI combination can go through the runbook very, very quickly and resolve it. So we've got an issue here, We need to do the AI pattern detection. Then we need to understand where to escalate this. And then we automate as much of the runbook as possible, communicate out to any customers, and then mark the incident as resolved, and then communicate the results of that. So we see here the process starts to execute. And so the database tells us what to do in the case of this specific type of issue. So there's no more hunting around. What happens is the AI is actually presenting to the person what they need to be doing. So let's say that this is saying, check the Dynamo database metrics. It's going to go through and do that. And then we ask it, was this the actual root cause or was it not? I can say yes, in which case I can then save that and provide feedback. Yes, that was a high quality response and a positive response. And now what it will do is it will update the knowledge base with the right level of information. And I can edit any of the commentary, and the AI will recognize all of that and incorporate that into its knowledge base in real time. And so I give it that feedback. Now it's captured that feedback. And now we move to the escalation guidance. So in this case, we see that it looked at correlations from the past, and it shows that the database on-call team is able to resolve these things twice as fast as the app services team. So if I have a choice of who to go to, I might go to the app services team. So now what I will do is I'll validate that indeed that was the right information. And then I'll say, yep, I followed that guidance. And now it will save that and provide feedback to the AI again. And this one also, I'll give it a 5 out of 5, both on accuracy and usefulness, and move on. And then we run the automated runbook steps. And so we'll go through and start executing the runbook steps, and we'll see if the issue actually got resolved. So now the human has to go in and do whatever work was indicated. And sure enough, if I got the right runbook steps here, that's great. If I didn't, then I can mark that with negative feedback and move on. So I'll go ahead and continue to give positive feedback here. And now, as I'm going through this process, obviously I want to communicate with the customer, and we'll see here, based on exactly what is going on in this space, we see that we have a pretty good confidence in terms of what's going on and when it's likely to resolve. And so what we're going to do is look at the communication that the AI generated, and we're going to either approve it, yes, this is the right time to send it, or no, we're going to decline it. And so I'll go ahead and approve it for this one. And we'll go ahead and save that feedback. Yep, that was good input. And now the incident's resolved and the error rates have returned to normal. So that's the measurement that the system will do. So now we can move on to the next step, which is all about understanding the root causes and what the AI is learning through this process. And you'll see here, we've got a whole host of components in this root cause analysis. I'm not going to go through it in an excruciating level of detail, but you'll get a very good sense from this page as to all of the different insights that the AI will come up with. And you'll see here, this is the investigation that we just completed and what it learned from that investigation. All of the correlations that it's seen in the past. And as you add more correlations, it will start picking those things up as you're giving it more feedback. Other improvements. So in some cases, the AI will actually be able to recommend system-wide improvements that will reduce these alerts. So you'll see here, looking at seasonal capacity reviews, we've got an issue here in that we're not implementing capacity planning in the right way. And the root cause for this client was actually that they weren't planning for the holiday marketing calendars in the way that they should have. And then you'll see other types of things that we have that are around how you actually feed all of this insight from the root cause analyses back into the context lake, so that the system continues to get smarter and smarter over time. But it's always fed back with a human doing that work. So it's going to commit that. And now we move on to SLA dashboard. So we can look here and see a variety of things in our SLA dashboard. So we have our system health heat map, and that's every single system here that we're monitoring over time at this retailer. And then we also see the level of compliance that we have with SLAs in that L1.5. And we see here, we've got pretty solid SLA compliance here. Customer support looks like it's going a little bit down, and data services is not where we need it to be. So you'll be able to detect these trends on a daily basis rather than looking at them once a month or once a quarter or something like that. And of course, now we can do all kinds of different mapping over time and look at AI generated insights that we're getting from each of these data sources. So you'll see here, we've got performance insights and we've got AI driven pattern recognition. So we'll see here, for example, that 73% of the breaches are occurring during promotional events or marketing campaigns. So what that means to me is that we need to sync up marketing calendars with the IT ops and IT infrastructure to make sure that we have enough capacity available so we're not running into these SLA breaches. And so now you'll see that we've got an overview. We can look at it by week, we can look at it by month, we can look at different compliance trends over time, and you'll see here that we've got some decline here. Looks like about a month ago in SLA. So we can go in and investigate what was going on there. We can look at where the incidents are coming from. We can look at MTTA versus what the target is. And in this case, we're doing pretty well. These past 4 weeks, we've got a good month. We can look at what the incident pattern looks like. And here, what's really interesting is we've got some rough patches here between 2 to 4 in the morning, whereas the rest of the day actually looks pretty good in terms of the incident pattern. So these are the types of insights that we can get the AI to give us rather than somebody sitting down with Excel spreadsheets and trying to come up with these analyses. We can also look at risk management and risk mitigation. So what are the systems that are under SLA pressure? Where are the seasonal traffic patterns coming from? So here in the case of this client, what they had was they were planning just fine for Christmas and Valentine's Day, but the challenge that they were not ready for was Black Friday. And so what ended up happening was they ended up breaching SLAs during that time frame. And so now we're able to look at all of this in a predictive way and understand what are the preventive actions that we can take right now or going forward in terms of what's likely to happen. And then the last thing here is, at the enterprise level, are there initiatives that will help us transform the infrastructure such that we don't run into these issues? So predictive capacity management, we've got a variety of different sub-initiatives that were suggested by the AI. Cross-team SLA alignment. So this is, how do we actually look across the team and align the SLAs? We've got a challenge there. And the AI is detecting this by itself. So then the next thing we can look at is all of the different metrics that are available to us. And these are fully configurable. And we can structure them in terms of MTTA and MTTR trends, resolutions versus escalations, understanding where the incident patterns are coming from. And we can see here that Friday seems to be a very high one, and we're getting a lot of issues coming out of the checkout system. It's interesting. Weekends look to be pretty normal, so we probably planned well for the weekends. It's just Friday somehow we have not been planning well for it. And then we can look at all of those metrics on a week-by-week basis. We can look at it month-by-month basis, a variety of different ways. So these are kind of the things you want to look at on a weekly basis. On a monthly basis, you want to step back and do a little bit more holistic view of, okay, let's figure out where the big issues are and what type of business impact are those issues causing for us and what the downtime cost is. So now what the AI will do is it'll help us calculate an ROI for actually going in and fixing that issue. Now, it won't always be right, but it'll be directionally correct relative to all the other things that are on that list. And then you'll see performance trends. incident volumes, resolution rates, and you'll see the stats on a month-by-month basis. So this one's a little bit more strategic than the weekly one. And then we can actually go down into each service component and see where the issues are, what the incidents are, and look at it at a summary level and actually identify what is this costing us. And we can look at things like the payment gateway, for example. This is actually costing us significant dollars, even though we're at a 99.1 SLA compliance. And so we've got a full analysis here, again, fully done by the AI, probably not exactly 100% correct, but you can see here that we actually have significant revenue protection that we're able to execute it because we're able to go fix this thing. Whereas in this payment gateway, I think one of the big issues is that we don't have a redundant payment gateway in the way that we need it. So again, the AI is able to go through and analyze the data and give all kinds of different insights to the team. Now let's dive into the SLA accountability piece. First, we have the leadership reporting. So we can look at real time where the SLAs are, how they're running, what active tickets we have, are there any that are at risk potentially, and if we've had any breaches today. So we can literally just dive in and go through and look at what's going on in the organization across the board and where you're at risk. In real time, you can look at it at the daily level, you can look at it at the weekly level, monthly level. And then you can also auto-generate the communications that go out to the executives around what's going on with the performance of the operation. And so you can send those out daily, you can send them out weekly. So all of this is auto-generated to either review or update the organization. When we look at the SLAs at a L1.5 level, there's a whole bunch of different SLAs that we're accountable for. But we have ownership and control over some of them. All the ones that are blue, we have ownership and control over. But there are steps in the process where we might miss our SLA because of an external dependency. So here, engineering handoff obviously is an external dependency. Resolution SLAs. So we have external dependencies on password reset, account unlock. So there are a variety of different types of areas where we are in control of our destiny and other areas where others are. So we need to make sure if we're accountable for all these SLAs that we're managing that holistically. And so what we can do is we can actually look at the SLA performance by category and see what exactly is going on. So it looks like we're pretty green all the way across. We've got some issues on escalation and resolution, but we're in the 90s across the board. That's overall. Then I can actually look at a daily level where we're running into issues. And we start seeing here potential for breakdowns. Let's see. Looks like here we dropped below 90% on day 4. So we had one breach. And so as we go through this, we'll see where the SLAs are breaching and why they're breaching. And then we can go do the root cause of it. And so that's at the daily level. We can look at it at the weekly level. And then we can also look at the monthly level where we've got issues. Looks like month 3, we had issues with 12 breaches. And so we've got some problems here where it looks like resolution was problematic in month 3. So those are the types of things that we can start looking at in real time again. And then once we've got an idea of we've got the SLA breach, why did it happen? And so the AI will do the root cause analysis for every single one where we actually breached the SLA and identify what the problem was, why it happened, what the customer impact was, and did we actually resolve it in a way that it's not going to happen again. And then you've got the individual processes inside of the SLA. So if you've got a internal handling process, documentation requirements, and then how you want to report an SLA breach. And so the AI will report every SLA in this format whenever it's breached automatically. So there's not a human going through and writing all of that. Now we're going to move into the root cause analysis and knowledge management. Let's start with a chatbot that is available to ask it questions. And so I can have the chatbot actually go and query the runbook and give me very specific steps in terms of what I should be doing for a specific issue, like a database connection pool has been exhausted. Or I can go look at how the memory leak procedure works. And so the idea here is you give your folks the runbooks at their fingertips. So when you look at the AI knowledge base, it's continuously being updated. So every time an incident happens, it's processed and entered into the knowledge base. Now what we'll do is we'll actually move to the improvement recommendations that the AI is making. And so you see here, what we have is the AI is continuously updating and monitoring all of the knowledge bases that exist. And so we've got all the different categories of knowledge that the AI is monitoring. And the AI is going to be able to actually create articles based on what's going on and whether or not the root cause analysis was approved by the human. Let's talk a bit now about how the AI learns and improves. Originally, the recommendation that the AI made on one of our topics was that we should do the work in this way. And then the historical correlation showed a 94% accuracy. And what we did was we actually agreed with the resolution steps. And so now we've gotten to a better approach, and we're able to go from a 30-minute resolution time to what we're estimating is going to be a 12-minute resolution time. And here's the set of enhancements that were made to that specific step in the runbook so that you were able to actually now use AI in a more sophisticated way. Again, all kinds of other types of analysis. We can look at the telemetry and what the AI recommends from the telemetry data, as well as we can look at a summary of all of the learnings that the AI is creating in the context lakehouse. And then let's move to the operational runbooks. The thing here that's really interesting is the shift handover. And so in this case, you are coming up on the end of a shift, and we've got, looks like 4 tickets still outstanding right now. And the first one, the payment processing outage, looks like we have 23 minutes remaining on the SLA, and the work is about 60% complete. So this one, I don't know that I would hand this off. I might now look at how I can manage my resources to make sure that this thing gets closed within the SLA and pay a little bit of overtime potentially. And we see here it lays out very clearly the work that still needs to be done. And it gives you a warning that the SLA might get breached on this one. The second one here looks like we've still got 2 hours on this one. It's still a fairly high priority, but we've gotten it almost all the way there. So on this one, we're pretty confident that it can be handed over, if not completed in this shift. And then you've got others that are in different statuses. And then you've also got a full analysis of exactly what needs to happen across the shift in terms of what we did, what we are going to hand over, and how we ended the day or ended the evening. And then for the next shift, what the big priorities should be. And so you have that fully automated in terms of generation. Now, again, will it be 100% right all the time? Probably not, but it'll be pretty good. And so then we complete the handover. In the operational runbooks, you'll see here, we've got all of the runbooks laid out very clearly and what the status is on each of those. So some are being worked on, some are outdated, some are current. And the agents are going to continuously monitor the runbook and look at the usage patterns and see the types of incidents that are coming up. And if there's correlation in terms of, is the runbook still effective? And then we'll see here that if you want suggestions on how to improve the runbooks, you can actually get these recommendations and very easily add them to the knowledge base. So this system makes it very easy for somebody to actually go through and update the knowledge base as you're learning things. You've also got the whole run history. So I just updated something. You've got the update history here. Now I'll also run you through what happens when you have a SWAT call where we've got some really rough stuff going on, and how you actually run through the protocol and execute on the protocol. So here again, we can look at the incident and the initial assessment. We get the engineers engaged, get the initial response. Then we have the different decision points, and then the SWAT team gets engaged. So what we want to do is we want to be able to look at all the active incidents that potentially require a SWAT team response and manage those and track those. And you can literally do this in real time, and we'll show you how some of the work that the AI does, especially around major incidents, is pretty interesting. And then you need to keep a really good handle on what are all the communications going out around something that's a major incident or likely to turn into a major incident. And we can go through here and see what the status is of all the stakeholders and what the messaging has been at this point to all the folks that are important in this entire value chain. So it can be everything from emails that go out, Slack channels, SMSs, and then ultimately a customer email that goes out that you can configure to say whatever it is that you needed to say. And then what we do is we look at the predictive analytics around this. So for this SWAT event, what is the likelihood that it's going to get resolved within the SLA? So here we see that we've got a big potential issue here, and we need to either put more resources on it, escalate it, whatever needs to get done. We need to take action if we want to meet the SLA on this one, because most likely we're going to have an issue because it's less than 75% likely that we're going to actually achieve the SLA. Now let's jump into major incidents. So what we'll see here is the ability to actually look at the major incident management team and see what's going on in that space. Now, level 1.5 is very different from the major incident management team. So it's a separate set of dashboards that we tap into. But the idea is you can integrate from your level 1.5 or from your NOC or SOC into multiple other areas in the organization that you can actually look at what's going on in that space. So again, here we see all of the different systems. We have an early warning happening here, and we see where the early warning is coming. It's pretty clear. The checkout is gaining in latency. And so we can go in here and we can look at what's going on here and see all the automated actions that have been happening. And we see that the latency trend is still high. And so what we do is we can now automatically start rallying resources to resolve the major incident. And we'll see here the resources get contacted, they start coming online, and as they come online, we can get started with the resolution process without everybody online. But okay, now everybody's online. And now what we have is a clear Kanban board where we can actually take the different actions and move things down the Kanban board as necessary. And we'll see the process happening. So each individual team is going and doing the thing that they need to get done to resolve the issue. And great, we see that this one didn't pass the tests. And now what we're able to do is automate the status updates, just like we saw in the other scenario. So you'll see here that it's a very clear major incident process, and we can track all of those SLAs across the enterprise in multiple systems. let's get into the lower environment. So what we've been looking at is production environments with large scale volumes going through it. The way that we manage lower environments is also in that same context, but we assign them different types of priorities. So in the lower environment, if you have an active incident, there's a scoring mechanism that puts it in the queue in the appropriate place. So if your payment gateway is down, that's one thing, but maybe a unnecessary page is not rendering actively in the production system, you might have something here where 50 developers are sitting idle because you've got an issue. So what this will do is it lays out what all the active incidents are. It helps you triage and prioritize those and assign them based on the logic from the AI about who should work on what based on their skill sets. And then you've got the prioritization matrix. So when you've got a production system, that's a P0, P1, you might have a staging system, a UAT, and a dev. And you have a series of rules that the AI will use to actually prioritize the incidents into the right place in the queue. And then you can look at what the workflows are and configure those workflows based on what the process is for UAT or for dev. But all those runbooks can be baked right into the knowledge base. And then you can look at all the environment health metrics, and here we're doing pretty well. All of the types of analyses that we did for the production environments, but you probably don't want something quite as robust necessarily for the lower environments, but you can set them up however you wish. And so that will do it for the level 1.5 support workflow. Now remember, you can use this for any environment, whether it's the NOC environment or SOC environment or in the level 1.5, where you've got people processing massive numbers of tickets, doing a lot of work. There's a lot of false positives. A lot of the work can be automated by AI. In any of those circumstances, you can start implementing this type of an agent to go through and really help your folks take down their handle times by 20, 30, 40%.